Falls, right? I really hope that doesn't grow, but you know as well as I do, it's going to be about 14 by the
When's the
weekend.
cutoff line? Is it? It's 19th, is it?
It is Friday at 2:00.
Isn't that the 19th?
Nope, that is tomorrow's the 19th.
Oh,
Friday is the 21st.
okay.
Yeah, that's right. Friday is the 21st. Yeah, there we go. Long way to go before we do that. Okay. Yep. And welcome everybody to Talking Niagara. We are here. Yep. So we're here this morning to cover, well, whatever we can about the news impacting us locally. And just got to kind of remember, hey, before I cover anything else, come on, show this one. Hey, today's podcast is brought to you by Spin Legal, the Invictus Legal podcast that is done every Tuesday 6 p.m. So if you want to have a look at some, discussions about legal stuff, that's fine. And today we're going to be talking about affordable legal services. All right, there you go.
Hey, if we're getting the sponsors, where's my paycheck?
That's a sponsorship of gives us the they give us the StreamYard every day.
Okay, that's good for
Not
me.
really sponsors. It's sponsor in some other way. Okay. All right. Okay. So moving on to the first thing, Mike, we didn't get to yesterday was about Manitoba pork. Good morning, Mike. Good morning, everybody else. What we didn't get to yesterday was the story about Manitoba pork. Basically, they're pitching to the Iowa State Fair, which is happening all this month, about what the best is for Canadian pork. Canadian pork is the best in the world, so go buy it.
Yes. Well, what it's saying here is the Canadian pork farmers, basically from Manitoba, are going straight to Iowa. The province produces 3 million young pigs and sends them to the U.S. market. 2 million of them go to Iowa. Now, of course, with those pig products, they're made into other products, which makes Iowa wealthier.
Yeah.
So basically what they're doing is trying to inform their American friends what's going on. They've had a long association, and it comes out in this particular Iowa State Fair. Basically,
yeah,
it's been a little bit alarming to a lot of the American people there. When the reporters go down there, they like the idea that the Manitoba pork farmers are there, but they really don't understand the message too well, because so many Americans don't understand the tariff war that's going on right now. They're a little bit upset about the Canada-U.S. relationship. They're a bit misinformed too. Some of them say that it's due to, some of them that know something about it say that it's due to the unfair dairy sector. Well, the unfair dairy sector is a tiny, tiny part. There's a lot of it's made, a lot of noises.
A lot of that's about a story, though.
It's extremely small.
Yeah, a lot of that's a fake story, because we'll talk about that in a little while. And basically, this is an 11-day fair in Des Moines, which the Canadians have got time to kind of show their wares, but they're doing so in front of basically the state's biggest pig. This is the Iowa State Fair. They'd be showing off Iowa's biggest pig.
Hogzilla.
Hogzilla.
But here it is. You see, and then this is a quote, sometimes you need to remind people in Iowa that the relationship is really beneficial for them, says Rick Pridgett, chair of Manitoba Pork at the State Fair Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what happens is Canadian pork goes down there. It's fixed up, and it makes Iowa money, because then Iowa then goes in and sells it here and there. It's kind of like a jeweler who imports gold and then makes something out of it and makes money off of it. So it has to import gold from a place. It's not making any money off that place where it's importing from, but it makes money from it. And that's the kind of way you sort of have to look at it. The tariffs are misrepresented a lot of times.
Yeah.
When you think of the aluminum goes into the United States from Canada, well, then they take it and make something of it, and then they sell it back to us in car parts and stuff like that, or they sell it themselves. So they actually make money off of it. They just didn't have to have the raw aluminum on their own.
Yeah.
It's like I said, it's very much like a jeweler who doesn't have a gold mine. He has to go buy gold, right? He's not going to make any. He's always in debt to the gold mine, but he takes what he gets from the gold and turns it into a big profit.
Yeah.
So that's one of his expenses. So that's kind of like the tariffs are misunderstood in many ways. A lot of times the stuff that's imported either by Canada from the United States or the other way around is turned into products that are worth more.
Okay, so but also apart from this, of course, we've got currently the situation where we've got Canada-U.S. trade negotiations working at the moment. And on a sector by sector breakdown, there's a lot of differences, right? For example, automobiles, they are looking at reducing from 25 to 15%.
Not even Canada's even like that. They don't like that part of it all. It could even go down to 7.5%, but even at that, Canada is balking. So
yeah.
So the offer is 25 down to 15, but Canada doesn't think that's good enough.
Well, the other thing is the dairy stuff. Of course, this is where the tariff threat is, and this is where they've actually saying that, hey, Canada has established quotas on cheese, for example, that are much more restrictive than quotas on similar imports from the European Union. So the tariff on dairy doesn't come in until you reach certain levels. But what the US is saying is that, hey, the level for the US is much more restrictive than the level for the European Union. And hey, probably that's something we should concede.
Possibly, but this is the very first I've heard of it. And it doesn't sound right to me that we would have a higher tariff rate, but we have a higher tariff rate on American cheese and milk products after it reaches a certain threshold.
Yeah, it's got to reach that threshold.
So it has, I don't know, say it's 2 million gallons of milk or 2 million pounds of cheese or whatever it is.
Yeah,
has to come into the country, and then after that, go ahead.
Yeah. And historically, it has never reached those levels. Let's be utterly clear about this. No, the dairy coming in from the US to Canada has never reached those levels ever. It's never been tariffed.
Yeah. Now Canada's got a little bit of a workaround that makes it even more difficult for that to happen, though. I think those are the things that they should be talking about. But European cheese is tariffed right away as soon as it comes in. But American cheese and American milk products are not tariffed until they reach a certain level, and they've never reached that level yet.
Yeah.
So, but on the other hand, it would be absolute disaster for farmers, particularly in Quebec, if they go away from supply management. That keeps the price high enough that the farmers can keep producing. What we don't want to do is not be able to produce it and have to rely on another country for our cheese. It's just like the United States is putting up a lot of these tariffs, so it doesn't have to rely on others for it. Like it's like the same process. The tariffs by which the United States is now trying to impose are things to protect their industry and agriculture. Well, why can't we do that too?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing about that is that, okay, so alcohol has been one of these long touted things, and especially since there've been movements by provincial leaders to take alcohol off the shelf.
Well, we don't have too many weapons we can fight back with. We're pretty small. The United States is very big, but it would be a big mistake, like a lot of the right wing people here in Canada that I know, our friends want us to roll over and die and bow to the big gold man, bow and kind of kowtow ourselves to the mighty U.S. I think that's wrong. I think you have to fight, and if you're going to lose, you're going to make sure that whoever you're fighting knew that they were in a fight, so that they don't try too often again. If we kowtow like Europe did and start calling Donald Trump daddy, we're in trouble. They'll just slap us around from head to toe. So get your elbows up. Let's start fighting the best we can. It's going to be a bloodbath, but at least one beer.
I think he was meaning the buck of beer.
Oh, the buck of beer, yeah. Oh, Dougie, I want that buck of beer. I want promises made, promises kept.
Especially now with all the prices have gone up. Basically when 10 years ago, beer was about $2.50 a can. Now it's about $4 a can.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, anyway, get back to that. I think it's a really good thing that the Iowa State Fair and the Manitoba farmers are getting together. I think, farmer talking to farmer, basically pork producer talking to pork supplier is a good way of doing it. It's these relationships are made for a long time. Just like, just like the back and forth we have. We go to Florida. We used to go to Florida, a lot. Canada's dropped off going there. Canadians have dropped off going there. But that used to be a good thing for everyone, right? They made money off us. We had a place to go, nice and warm during the wintertime, Well, all that's shut down because our friendships are being interfered with by politics.
Yeah. Those friendships are being challenged. That's for sure. And how do we get back to track, I think, is what a lot of Canadians are asking. Okay. Minerals, energy, and security is another area, and Americans are seeking a deal that would see preferential access to Canadian critical minerals and cover security and energy. Well, I don't know that those necessarily all go together. Energy is one thing. We can supply it. We have a supply. I'm not saying endless. We have also supply of minerals, but we're not going to be necessarily kowtowing to American security demands.
We have the fourth largest known oil reserves in the world. We also have the largest uranium reserves in the world. So we got more uranium than anyone else, and we've got the fourth largest known reserves of oil of anyone else. One of the things the United States, and this surprised me, one of the things that in the negotiation is the United States wants guarantees of Canadian oil. They can see now that the Canadians are looking for different markets for their oil, so they want a guarantee of a certain amount of oil, prioritizing themselves, which I thought was rather interesting, since they said they didn't need our oil. And they got lots from Venezuela, and they don't need our oil anymore, or we're going to wean off our oil. So that was just huff and bluster, I guess.
Every day, that, Dave.
What?
It's a different story every day. Come on.
Well, yeah, but they did say they were going to replace Canadian oil with Venezuela oil, and since those refineries on the Gulf of Mexico coast down there were designed to take on Venezuelan crude. That was the idea, and there's now going to be more and more Venezuela oil available. But who knows? And of course they're going to need energy, the uranium and things of that kind. So I don't think there's going to be a problem in that. You know what I mean? We want to guarantee that you're going to sell us X amount of oil and X amount of uranium. Okay, sure. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah. Here we do. We have a lot of data centers in Canada.
You don't have sufficient data centers. Yeah, that was one of the things Doug Ford was talking about, and I agree with him here. As much as we don't like the environmental the environmental effect of data centers, Doug Ford pointed this out. If we don't build our own, we'll have to rely on those from the United States, and at any moment's notice, they'll turn it off. That was something that we wouldn't even have thought of before the advent of Donald Trump. We would never have suspected that the U.S. if the U.S. had data centers and we relied on them, that they shut us off. That is a problem now. Very, 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 very evident that that's a real possibility. Once you start working on AI, and AI is critically important to the modern industry and modern business economy. So it behooves you to have your own data centers.
Yeah, but again, we have our own data centers. We probably, arguably, we don't have enough of them.
Well, that's the whole point. We don't. We're lagging behind. Yeah. And the data centers are an environmental nightmare, but there's something you have to do, like steel. Steel's an environmental nightmare, but you need steel, so you make steel, and you deal with the pollution as best you can. Yeah. I think Canada could have all kinds of data centers up in the northern reaches. I don't know if it's practical, though. You could take data centers and build them up in the northern parts of Ontario, Quebec, anywhere.
No, you see, part of the problem there is not always practical, because of the fact that you have to you need high-speed data connections, and the further apart the field they are from the main use, i.e., somewhere like Toronto, it becomes problematic.
Well, that's where you can get a lot of your cooling water, though. See, that's what I'm saying,
I know.
But we do have the Great Lakes right there.
Well, I know what you're saying, but generally speaking, businesses would pay more for a data center that's based close to it, where the high speed is guaranteed, as opposed to one that's hundreds of miles away, where all you need is a break in the cable to kill everything.
Well, the problem with a data center is the absorption of energy. A data center takes on exceptionally amounts of power. That is a threat, and has been in the United States, as we've seen. I don't know if there's many examples in Canada, but there are examples in the United States where people's power bills have gone up, and they have been getting brownouts because the local data center is the one that's taking all the power. Here, everybody will be surprised to know this. I agree with Donald Trump on this particular point, where he says the data centers should come with their own power supply. In other words, throw up a windmill, throw up some solar panels, and get a gas generator. Get a gas generator like the one up at Thorold.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it uses carbon-based fuels, but you'll be able to get 60% return on the BTU that you put into your combined cycle gas machine. That would be a combined cycle machine where you fuel a something like a jet engine as a primary source of the power, and the secondary source of the power will be a steam generator the steam coming from the exhaust of the jet engine type of turbine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, we do have to have our own. Absolutely, we do, and in that regards, I agree.
So, as much as we don't like it, we're going to have our own data centers to keep up with everyone else in the world, and it's going to cost a lot of power.
Yeah.
Do we have all that power? No, we don't. So we're going to have to, when we make a data center, we're going to have to improve our infrastructure. And you could have small dedicated. This is something that's already been done in refineries and everything else, where they've taken the excess heat and steam and made small generators to gas generators. There's all kinds of them. I was trained on them down in Vegas years ago. There are small gas generators you can get where you can get natural gas and you can make a generator out of it to supply your data center with power that won't interfere with the power of the residences.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, the other thing, of course, about computer technology, especially when you put banks of it all together, is cooling.
Yes, that's why you're going to need cooling water. We got lots in Ontario. We're bordered on the Great Lakes. We've got all kinds of water inland as well.
Yeah.
So the cooling water probably won't be an issue, but the power issue will be.
Yeah, yeah. All right, moving on. So they what do you call it? Their community land trust eyes various Niagara sites as their Welland projects have been slowing.
Yeah, the community land trust. This was spelled out in the last meeting. In this particular article, it talks about their presentation to the region. Just as an aside, I saw something from Ringo Beam earlier this morning. He says Frank Campion got the regional chair.
He did. But I saw that announcement on Facebook yesterday, but I haven't seen any news article to back it up.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either. But anyway,
and I've been looking
thanks
overnight.
For the tip. John Ringo Beam put it on Facebook, and he's usually pretty astute when it comes to things like that.
Yeah.
So
I've been predicting Campion to get the nod for quite some time, because Campion's not on the list of candidates in Welland.
Oh.
Right.
Well then, it may have happened. We'll see.
But I haven't seen a confirmation.
I'm gonna miss Bob Gell.
Yeah.
But he had it like for a microsecond. Anyway, so Rick's talking about Newfoundland. Yeah, we'll be talking about that pretty soon. But right now we're talking about the projects, the community land trust, and this particular article that we have here talks about their presentation to the region. But on our last meeting, the last city council meeting here, they also gave a presentation to our own councilors. And basically what they're trying to do is attain land and attain resources to build affordable, attainable homes.
Yeah.
And it's a noble project. They're working. Their very first project is in Welland right now. They've got the land. They got the land for $3 from this surplus land from the city of Welland for $3, and they're building. I don't know, what is it, 40-something units, or I have to get the article.
I think it's 83 units.
83 units in 2 buildings, or is 1 building?
Yeah. Could be 2 buildings. You're right. Yeah, I think it is 2 buildings.
But in any case, 83 apartments on Crowther Avenue in South Welland, they're doing as best they can at trying to make affordable, obtainable housing. And John Armstrong representing the Community Land Trust of Niagara. Now, this really sounds like an altruistic thing. I'm looking for holes in this. I'm looking for people making profits out of this. But the Community Land Trust itself just seems to be this organization that tries to search out land and build on it with partners. It's a very complicated system under their own description.
It sounds like something they would partner up with somebody like Kiwanis.
No, they're their kind of own thing. Like Kiwanis does theirs, and this outfit's going to do theirs. That looks like they've got. It says he said Meridian Credit Union has also supportive of the project, while Niagara Community Foundation has pitched in about $650,000. In addition to the land donation, Welland is providing about $120,000 in waived fees and incentives. They are teaming up with what used to be Bethlehem Housing. I did an interview with one of the people from
Second Story
years ago, and CLTN, Community Land Trust of Niagara, partnering with Second Story Community Homes and Services, which was formerly Bethlehem Housing project, on a project that will feature 2 buildings with roughly 40 units each, including some units with rent at about 20% below market value. So basically, unfortunately, the market is not responding well to our people here in Niagara because our prices have gone up, but normally what happens is the builders and wherever the market is, they'll build high end, they'll build medium, they'll build more humble stuff, to satisfy whatever the market is here. But the developers aren't doing that. They're they have to be coaxed into doing attainable, affordable homes. We hear about it a lot, but we don't hear about too many people willing to do it. But this is an outfit that will, So hats off to them. So we'll see how this works out. It was established. The Community Land Trust Niagara was established in response to the affordable housing crisis in Niagara, after we saw rapid increases in rent, particularly 22, 24, and 25.
Yeah,
it really hurt people. Things have softened or modified a bit 2026, but they're still unaffordable. Current rents from $1,800 to $2,200 a month for a modest 2-bedroom apartment. Meanwhile, he added that wait lists for the Niagara Regional housing units are years long. Tell me about that. I've had people phone me and say, what can we do to get into the Kiwanis buildings? I'm dying to get, and I can't help you there. You got to go through Niagara Housing and 1-bedroom apartments in St. Catherine. Anyway, so this is a bold thing. I don't know who's going to be making money off this. Maybe the contractors or something. Well, but it seems to be like this is an organization. I don't know how the people in this organization are paid, and or anything else of that kind. But
the thing is, Dave, from everything I've read about this organization, it seems that they will make a profit, but profits will not necessarily be humongous profits. The idea is that we will make money over time.
Well, it says Armstrong here, the spokesman for the Canadian, the Community, Land Trust of Niagara, is one of about 50 land trusts across Canada, which I didn't know anything about, working with governments, community groups, developers, financial institutions, and anyone who has a stake in affordable housing, because you can't build affordable housing on your own anymore. It simply can't be done. So hats off to them. Anytime you read, or they seem to have solid partners, in that they're working with, and they're basically asking for help anyway. Like, for instance, if Niagara Falls has any excess land, which I'm sure they do, maybe they can maybe they could sell it for $3 to the community land trust of Niagara, so they could start an affordable housing unit.
Well, ask Frank DeLuca about the availability of land in Niagara. He's been now for several weeks kind of publishing lots on Facebook of land that is publicly available, or should be publicly available, and the city could sell for such housing. Okay, they're not 40-unit necessarily, and some of this is industrial land, but it's all land that is owned by the city. So, hats off to Frank DeLuca for his, putting this out there.
Now, the presentation was in front of the council, the last council meeting.
Yeah.
And I basically, they asked a lot of questions about it. It didn't look as if they were pre-informed about this at any time, because the manner in which the questions came up was they were pretty much unaware of what the Canada land, or the Community Land Trust of Niagara was about to do, although they did recognize what they were trying to do in Welland. So this is just one more agency that may help turn around. And it's a sad thing that we have to have an organization like this purposely build affordable things, because the market will not respond, right? The market responds only to those they feel they're going to make the most money out of, instead of filling the market up with affordable buildings for affordable rents. Even somebody who wants to own an apartment building like that probably wouldn't want to build one that was attainable, because then they can mess with the rents and stuff, So
yeah,
I don't know. It's a sad thing that the average, so many of us in the Niagara region cannot afford housing. So what do we got next?
Housing by any region, and will sell the housing units and move CC and have to move the COHB. Okay. Yeah. So what we have next to get back on the right page is okay. So just to remind you, today's episode is brought to you by Spin Legal. Tonight, 6 o'clock, Spin Legal will be on air, and we'll be talking about getting affordable legal support. All right. Okay. Yeah. And going back, okay, so I don't know what this one was about. Everest death rates. You put this up, and I said to you, without even opening it, I said there's about 120 people have died all in all on climbing to the summit or descending from the summit, and in expeditions overall.
I just put this in for general interest. Like, it was surprising to me that over 300 people have died climbing or descending from Mount Everest.
This is all time, though, Dave.
What?
This is all time, not just.
Yeah, this is from the beginning they started doing it.
Yeah.
And there's about about 200 bodies left up there.
There's a few bodies up there, that's for sure.
Yeah, there's a pile of bodies up there, and the reason why they're up there is that they can't be retrieved. Some have been absorbed in avalanches, so you'll never find them. Others, you step over them on the way up and on the way back.
Oh yeah.
And the reason why they're not retrieved is because it's dangerous and expensive, and it's very dangerous to get them down. So I just thought I'd put it out there. Like, there are a lot of people going up and down Mount Everest, but there are places got a whole pile of dead bodies in it, and I thought was bizarre. I thought that would be kind of interesting.
It was my, Dave, Everest has been my geek project all my life, right? Without even opening this web page up, I could tell you 120 deaths because I knew it. I've known it for years. I've been following it.
It's more than 120 deaths.
Well, but I mean, more than 120 deaths, but the deaths that have been up on, it's 120 from ascending and descending, the mountain.
Yes,
there's more than that. There's several of them where people have gone.
It says here, 322 people have died, have perished on Mount Everest since records began in 1922.
Yeah.
Out of about that's about 4.4 deaths per year, and that number slowly ticks up each year. The first summit, of course, was 1953. Of course, they've been trying since 22, but there's some bodies up there that predate the summit.
Yeah.
The single deadliest day occurred on the 25th, 2015, when a 7.8 magnitude earthquake resulted in the deaths of 19 people just at base camp.
Yeah.
And another tragic day happened on the 14th, 2014, when an avalanche took out 16 Nepali guides. 2 devastating days. And basically, how many dead bodies are on Mount Everest? According to the climbing community, to date, an estimated 300 people have died climbing Everest, but approximately 200 bodies are still on the mountain.
Yeah.
So 200 climbers are still up there somewhere. Sometimes you can see them. They talk about walking over them. And it says here, one quote, "It's not uncommon to walk over frozen bodies while summiting Mount Everest. But why aren't they removed? Removal is dangerous, and it's hard enough getting up there and back. But to maintain a rescue service to get them down, it's not worth it."
And many of them have actually been sucked into the ice. Basically, there's when you're walking on Everest, on the mountains, and in fact, all the high mountains like this, on any given day, you may well be walking on rock or walking on, 3 foot of ice, right? So it depends upon the individual day-by-day weather conditions. And remember, at 27,000 foot, any ice that's up there does not melt.
It'll never melt. And every once in a while, the body might get pushed up or pushed up. They talked about a climber that died going up there in the early days, and he'd never been seen until, like, I think it was 50 years after he died.
Yeah.
So they know he was up there someplace and somebody spotted him.
There's one on the North Face as well, which is one of the early Chinese attempts at the summit. So
and what kills mostly what kills them is exposure and acute mountain sickness, which means acute mountain sickness means that you cannot adapt to the lack of oxygen well enough.
Yeah.
You get sick and exhausted.
I've been up into the K zone without any ill effects. A friend of mine, she was a trained mountaineer. She did all the Everest training. She got to base camp and had to depart right away. She couldn't take the height. Yeah,
you have to train. If you're going to do that, there's like a lot of training hours a lot of people go through.
Yeah.
There's frostbite and snow blindness and a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
You're better off going up there young, I'd say, if you're going to try it.
The irony here is she did all the training to go up Everest. She couldn't do it. And I've been up to the K zone and not an ill effect. And I've not done any of the training.
You went up on Mount Everest?
No, I've been up high on the K zone up in the Himalayas.
Up at the K zone,
Not in, up to the 18,000 foot level, basically.
Well, I've been up to the summit. I flew over it on a plane.
That's not on the summit, Dave.
That's above the summit. I went even higher.
I
went even higher.
Well, I've done that as well, Dave. It's not.
Did you go? Did you go to Kathmandu and take the plane to look at Everest?
No. I was in the Indian. I was in the Indian Himalayas.
Okay, so I went. I was in Nepal and jumped on a plane. You can get on a plane, and they'll take you to Mount Everest.
Yeah.
And you think, okay, I'm just going to look at a big mountain. But once you see it, oh my God, there she is. There's the top of the world right there. But if you talk to somebody like Neil deGrasse Tyson, he'll say that's not the highest. The one that goes farther into space is a mountain close to the equator because the Earth bulges out at the equator. The mountains, one of the mountains near the equator is farther away from the center of the Earth and sticks out into space farther. But if you're going by sea level, Mount Everest is the highest. But if you're going by how far out the mountain sticks away from the center of the Earth, then that's the one in the equator, somewhere along the equator, but I can't remember which one it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just put that out there for the interest.
It's in the one you're talking about is in the Andes.
Canada-Ontario Housing Benefit, COHB.
Okay. Yeah, that's what you were talking about. Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, he made this earlier comment and the move to the COHB. Yeah, okay. I didn't know what that was, but now you've explained it. Yeah, that makes a lot better. I'm not sure there's a Canada-Ontario benefit, but still, yeah.
I don't. So anyway.
Yeah. And Mike makes the point that all Everest deaths are voluntary. Yeah, that's for sure. Nobody other than the workers, the bearers that go up the mountain for work. It's all voluntary. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So here's a question about this. When politicians talk about healthcare spending being unsustainable, it kind of gives an impression that we are overspending our budgets, but it doesn't always take into consideration the income we get from our healthcare systems.
Yes, that's a bit of a strange. Well, I thought it was kind of a bit of a strange article. It kind of seemed to celebrate our public health and denounce it at the same time.
Yeah,
that article.
Well, the whole point is that essentially we decry the fact that we've got an aging population, that we also looking at the possibility of for-profit healthcare, and the administrative bloat that we've got in our current healthcare system. But all of this kind of, to me, pales into insignificance when you've got absolutely appalling profiteering going on in the US. And for example, how dare they put up the price, when it's $300 to get a refill on things like insulin, when insulin was given to the world for $1.
I'll go back to the what I said before. It was Mount Chimborazo. Chimborazo is in Ecuador, is the mountain that goes farther out into space than Everest. It is the farthest away from the center of the Earth because of the spin of the Earth. But by sea level, Mount Everest is higher. But by pure distance from the center of the Earth is Mount Chimborazo. There you go.
There you go. Okay. All right. Okay. So in terms of healthcare, is spending really unsustainable? You know,
Healthcare is becoming.
are we better off having, you know, it doesn't matter how, you know, how well off I've been and I've had good money. I always think that we're better off having a free at the point of use healthcare system. We pay for our healthcare through our taxes. We pay through our, you know, through various other things. So the cost of drugs and things like that. And actually, the difference between Canada and UK about drugs is that we've actually still paid quite a lot on drugs. Well, certainly, actually, I pay 100% of all my drugs because I never spend $100 a year.
Yes, well, that's the mixed bag we have here.
Yeah.
Other societies, you don't pay for your drugs either. We're just starting to get into the dental thing, the affordable dental, that I don't think how that's really taken off so well. I hope it has helped some families and that. We have our own independent, like for instance, I have my benefits, and my benefits take care of my dental. They take care of my drugs, that kind of thing. But what do you do if you don't have those benefits?
Well, in fact, actually, there are some benefit packs out there that, ironically, don't cover dental and don't cover eyesight, the two things that are not covered in our system.
Yeah. Now, this is I will remind everybody that this is an opinion piece we're talking about here.
Yeah.
It says private spending keeps growing faster than public. As we've known, we have a lot of complaints about our healthcare system. I can tell you right now, I know a person that had to go for an operation. They had to wait 2 years for it, only to find, and the doctors wouldn't listen to them. And when they finally did, they found out the operation they scheduled them took 2 years to get in line for. Turned out to be the wrong one, and the one they actually needed was one that could be done really quickly without having to have sat in line for 2 years. Now he sat in line for 2 years for this operation, and it's because they were going to give him the wrong operation. And then when they take a look, they did give him an operation, but a much more reduced one that could have been done anytime. Mm-hmm. So that's the kind of thing you're running into here. When my mother broke her hip, they tried to, at 86 years old, they tried to knit the pieces back together rather than get her a new hip. And then she had to be rushed. A month later, she had to be rushed to Hamilton to have a new hip put in. Meanwhile, it cost her a lot of health problems. Myself, I had a broken hip that nobody could find for over 2 months.
Well, that surprises me, Dave, because in fact, hip problems are fairly well documented. I had a friend in the UK who had hip problems for 20 odd years. He was basically told, you can't have a hip replacement hip surgery until you're 50. And in his late 40s, he said it was killing him to get to 50.
Well, yeah. So public health is fine if it's run properly. And we find more and more every time you go into the hospital, you have to have your own advocate there, because the sort of state of their healthcare system sometimes isn't all that good. We talked about getting an MRI. You can go over the States and get it quickly. Here you have to wait 3 or 4 months, that kind of thing. So, and this article tells us the Canadians spend 11.2% of GDP on healthcare in total. Of that, about 70% is public spending and 30% is private, making Canada's outlier among its peers. In Germany, France, United Kingdom, and Netherlands, more than 80% of the total healthcare spending is public. So we kind of got this, like, but then it goes on and says the false unsustainable public spending narrative obscures where the growth pressure really sits. Basically, what they're saying here is if you really examine it, you can really put the resources in the right places.
Yeah,
and and make things much better and inexpensive. But we always hear that constantly, that the number one expense for Ontario is our healthcare system. but then our healthcare system seems to be declining in effect and having less. Like when OHIP first started, it was great. You could just walk in the hospital anytime. I had operations done. I had, I just walk in and I need an operation on my leg, got it done. I needed a broken bone fixed, got it done. You could just do that. And there didn't seem to be so much huff and bluster. I think the Canadian healthcare system got overburdened with too many people that didn't know what they're doing, bureaucrats or whatever. I don't know what.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The problem with capitalism is you're going to get charged more than you have to be. They're going to milk every dime out of you for a broken arm. The problem with public health care is you're going to get this bureaucracy that builds itself and wants to hold on to a job and only needs one job for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's one of the big problems about the National Health Service in Britain. For every dollar that is spent on the National Health Service, it's only about 7 cents that goes to patient care.
Where's the rest of it go?
Yeah, on odd administrative and bureaucracy, largely on bureaucracy.
Well, you see how we are supporting the hospital here. Every one of the local charities or service clubs have donated money to the hospital. Our particular service club has put in $25,000. Plus, we bought an $8,000 unit for children's jaundice. Like one of those things for those special infrared or ultraviolet. I think it's infrared where they hit the kid with. I think it's ultraviolet actually. So the kids who are jaundice can be cured rather easily with a light treatment. But that unit cost over $8,000.
But again, Dave, with the unopened Niagara South Hospital, I believe that clubs like yours have put in total of $26 million to date. Has been publicly, has been funded from outside of the province giving the money to build the hospital.
Yeah, well, basically, you get the Niagara Health Foundation knock on your door and say, "We need this, we need that, we need this."
Yeah.
And so service clubs like mine respond to that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You respond to that, and you have to, right? But the point about it is that it's been something in the region. I believe over the last 5 years since they've been developing this, it's about $20-odd million worth of stuff that has come from people like service clubs or donations in general.
Oh yeah, well, the service clubs are always putting money into all kinds of things, and one of the things is hospitals, of course, because we're supposed to be spending most of our money on kids things, but we are also supposed to help the community as well. So, for instance, like Kiwanis, we'll give to the soup kitchen, but we'll buy stuff we'll support the Boys and Girls Club. Et cetera, support YMCA camp for kids, et cetera, give money to the Salvation Army so that the families they help, the children and the families they help, will get something for Christmas, et cetera. So when we give something to the hospital, it's because the whole community can get benefit from that.
Yeah. Okay. Don't know that we can open up another story. It's about 5 to 8. It's about 2 minutes to 8. But remember, today's episode of Talking Niagara has been brought to you by Spin Legal. Come watch it tonight, 6 p.m. Search Spin Legal, and you can watch it on Facebook, or search Spin Legal on YouTube, and you can watch it there. All right.
Well, I'll just bring up Gaza again. Apparently, Jared Kushner is gone off. we see that Bibi Netanyahu snubbed Trump's peace plan for Gaza. He just said, no, I'm not going to do it. Too bad about that. I'm not going to do it, because Bibi knows that he just has to wait, and he can outlast any president. And he kind of figures that Trump has a very short attention span. I'm not so sure that's true, but that's the rumor. And so he's just going to try to outweigh him. Because the peace plan is stalled, and because the area allies that they have, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Iraq, Iran, well, not maybe so much Iraq, but Qatar, Kuwait, UAE, and Oman want that resolved. And it doesn't look good that the Americans have always supported, and they're not the only ones too, the Germans too, but has supported Israel's war efforts against a population. You call it genocide. I call it a genocide. And what they're doing in the West Bank, brutalizing Palestinians that have been there for 1,000 years. So basically what it is Jared Kushner is trying to go and talk to Netanyahu and see if he can soften him up and get him to comply with this rule. Now, the problem is, if Canada had done that to the United States, they would have slapped a bunch of tariffs on us and got raging mad. But the Israel lobby is so powerful in the United States that Trump's got to tiptoe around Netanyahu. It's as I said, the Iranians made a cartoon about Netanyahu and Trump, where Trump got down on his hands and knees, and Netanyahu got on his back and rode him around like a horse. I think that's the way the Iranians look at it right now. And we have to do something. Like, seriously, the United States is going to have to do something. They're the only ones that have any real power over Israel. So a country of 9 million people slapping around the president of the United States does not look good, and telling them, no, I don't want your deal. That doesn't look good. Turkey's looking, right? They're the next big power in the region. Turkey's looking. Iran is looking too. Look, like, what kind of chump is this guy, right? That he allows a country of 9 million people to tell him what to do, right? Yeah. Now we have a real chance of solving this, and if Trump can do it, hats off to him. I don't care what kind of an idiot he is and every other thing, but he didn't solve Ukraine war. He started a war with Iran. This one maybe he can do, because he's got overwhelming power. Should be, right? But because of the Israeli lobby in the United States, he finds himself with equal partners, a country of 9 million and the greatest power on earth. And the country with 9 million people says, go get stuffed, Trumpy dude. We'll just outweigh you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And anyway, yeah, so don't really want that, but still.
Yeah. Without further ado, I bid you adieu. Have a great day, everyone.